you want to know how to get your care provider to listen to you. First, it takes that conversation. You know the one, it's the one you're trying to avoid. It's the one where you're like, I really hope I just go into labor before this induction date or before the C-section date so that I don't even have to have that conversation, that I don't have to tell my care provider I'm not having a C-section or I'm not inducing, because I have this fear that I'm going to crumble under the pressure, that they're going to start trying to scare me with all of their scare tactics. Well, listen up, because this is how I help my clients do this, okay? So my clients typically, we have the ideal that, yeah, it would be really nice if we don't have to have that confrontation with our care provider. That would be super. To not have to confront another human being and get into that conflict. As a society, we've been really taught to avoid conflict. We've been taught there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of blame, there's a lot of guilt. As women as well, we have also been taught that it's not safe to get into conflict. I mean, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of our generational trauma and the physical trauma that got carried through the eggs of our mothers and grandmothers and through that red thread, which Rachel Reed actually talks about this in her book, Reclaiming Childbirth as a Rite of Passage. She talks about this. But if you go by that, we've got this energy, okay, where the feminine, we've basically been, I'm just going to say it, the patriarchy made it so it wasn't even safe for us to speak out. We spoke out before, we got beaten, we got killed, we got told that we were witches, we got burned at the stake, we got hung, we got tortured. You have to understand where a lot of this fear comes from. I mean, if you go and read Margaret Atwood's work, Handmaid's Tale comes to mind. There's also that whole thing, they controlled the society of Gilead through fear. So I get it, why you don't want to talk to your care provider, why you have that fear that your care provider is just going to keep citing their research and dismissing your concerns and constantly bullying you and manipulating you until you finally crumble under the pressure and you give up and you give in to what they want. It doesn't have to go that way, though. So this comes from a concept that my mentor and relationship coach Annie Lala says. It's called being the relationship leader, and it's what she talks about mostly in the context of relationships. But I decided back when I was working with Jenny to apply this concept, plus what I understood about human psychology and how people work and how fears and triggers came up, and understanding about how the system works, to really test this theory. And believe me, this works. This worked for Rebecca, who at one of her appointments, she didn't want to do the GBS testing. And she also did not want to have, I think it was one of the vaccines that she was declining. And she was really concerned about her care provider pushing her into this. And with Jenny had everything stacked against her. I mean, she was 41 years old. She had a history of preeclampsia. She had gestational diabetes. She had chronic high blood pressure. She had every single reason why the medical system would push her into an induction. And then she was able to basically say to her care provider, look, I'm not having an induction. I'm not having a highly medicalized birth. I'm having a VBAC. And she was able to get it. And then recently, one of my other clients that has just had her baby, she was able to put this into practice while she was in the hospital after having transferred from a home birth, due to the fact that she just was so tired and exhausted, and she really wanted to have that medical assistance. Because the definition of an empowered birth is not a natural birth. That's just what we aim for. We aim for physiological birth, and then we also have our backup plans. And I teach my clients this, but it's also about getting past your fear. So what does being a relationship leader mean? Okay, so again, this is a concept that my mentor and friend and relationship coach Annie Lala has talked about. So you can always go and follow her at @LalaBird and find out more about this. But being a relationship leader basically means you work through your stuff first. You need to be able to sit with your emotions, your fears, your thoughts, and work that out before you communicate with another human being. So, if you're going into your care provider appointments and you are terrified and you haven't worked through your fears, or you haven't uncovered your fears yet, you haven't gone through all of those worst case scenarios, you're just trying to focus on just the ideal outcome and you haven't actually come up with a plan, then what happens is your care provider will say to you, oh no, this is policy because this catastrophic thing happens. What that does is then it affects you because you haven't actually gone out and done that research, or you haven't worked through that fear yourself, and then you're starting to get afraid. This is what happened to me, is that I was like, I want to have a home birth. But then I kept getting the same information that most home births for a first-time mom, they end up transferring. And I kept being told, well, you don't know how labor is going to go for you, so it's probably going to be super painful and you're not going to be able to handle it. I didn't get a handle on my fears before I had that conversation with my care provider. And this is the same thing with your partner too. Being the relationship leader means actually talking to your partner. So you have to get really clear on your fears and have that right mindset dialed in. That's why I talk about my 5 pillars of empowerment in my book, Your Empowered Birth. You need to have the right mindset. The right education also helps your right mindset and it reinforces that for you. You need to have the right environment, because if you don't feel safe, you can't open up. And you can't physically open up for birth, but you also can't open up emotionally to have those conversations and have it go your way. If you don't have the right facilitator, if you have someone who is just not open at all to discussing it, and they're very much in their control, because there are those people out there, those are the ones you fire, by the way. Those are not the ones you keep. But if you have a care provider who's just, they're scared, okay? Just like your partner is scared. So there's 2 types of people out there. There's the ones that are, I have an agenda. I don't care what you feel. I'm just going to do things my way because power, 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 prestige, power, and I'm in it for the money. I'm in it for the power. They are not open. Their hearts are not open. But then there's the care providers that they genuinely want to do good. They genuinely want you to have a good birth experience. And, you know, they've had a lot of trauma. They've seen a lot of bad things happen. Now, this is, of course, due to the way that the medical system is and how it's controlled birth and made it so that they haven't seen physiological birth. But when your partner or your care provider has these fears, or your family members, friends, anyone, when they have a fear, if you are not grounded, if you are not able to take that and sit with their fears and not have that actually affect you, and you can look at it objectively, if you're not able to do that, that's when you crumble under the pressure. Because you're just trying to push that fear away again. It's like, no, I'm okay. I'll just deal with it. I'll compromise just to make you feel safe because now I'm feeling anxious. So we are very in tune to each other's energy, especially if you also happen to be very empathic, which I am. And then what happens is that you become a people pleaser. Now, this is also a pattern you might have learned in your childhood, which again is why you need to work through your stuff, which is again, the relationship leader, you are standing for something. So you have your dream birth, you have your backup plans that you know, it's like if they have this fear come up, I can pull this out. You don't have to dump everything on them. You also don't have to prove that you should be able to do this. So if your care provider is like, we induce everybody at 41 weeks, and you're getting to that point, you can say to them, look, I understand that there are some risks. I understand that you have some concerns, and you might have seen some things, and you might have this view that if I don't go in and have this induction at 41 weeks, that a disaster is going to happen. Tell you what, here's the thing, is that I really believe I can do this. I trust my body. I trust myself. I know what I'm really standing for. And I know that if I go for this induction, I'm going to regret it. I really don't want to do that. So here's the thing, is like, if this scary statistic possibility happens, absolutely, we can change my plan. I'm not going to make you watch me die or my baby die on the table. But I'm not inducing until I see that there's an actual need for it. And if you want to know more about how to get your care provider on board, I do have a video on my channel just go to the link in my bio and it has my YouTube channel. So there's actually a video on what to do when you and your care provider don't agree. There's also another video on what to do if, like, how to tell if your care provider is toxic. I actually call it, is your OB toxic? But you know, the best way to get this information is to go get my book, Your Empowered Birth, which is now available on Amazon. I made it really simple. I laid it all out for you. You have the entire 5-pillar framework. There's questions to ask so that you can start to think about this yourself. Basically, it's like me coaching you, as I do with my clients, without the hefty price tag or the time commitment. So you can basically go through the whole system yourself. The reason I did that is because I don't work with everyone. I only take on a few clients per year. I'm really focused on taking care of my family. I'm really focused on getting my programs out there. And so because of that, I didn't want to leave anybody out as I continue to work through this and continue to get on speaking opportunities, continue to build more programs, and take on higher level clients. I wanted to make sure that everybody could have an empowered birth. I was committed to making 2023 the year of empowered birth, and that's really happening. I'm seeing it with my clients. I've been seeing it for the last 3 years of working with them, but also 10 years of birth advocacy has gone into this book. And it's just that in the last 3 years, when I was intentionally coaching, that I really applied this system. So I'm telling you, I worked through this whole thing with my own births. I also worked through it with my friends over the years. I've now done it with my clients. I've seen these phenomenal results where Rebecca went into her appointment. She was really anticipating them to say no, like, you have to have this GBS test. And she walked out and she called me that same day. She's like, there was no pressure. Like, they were just like, okay. And then they moved on. They didn't keep pestering me about it. Or Jenny, when she wanted to go into the hospital, she was kind of experiencing high blood pressure. She was a little concerned that day, but she knew that if she went in, that the hospital was going to push induction. She didn't want that. So I helped her work through that fear. And I said, what are you really standing for? And I helped her become that relationship leader, the emotional leader, by getting her grounded and in her power and being able to get past that fear and have that backup plan and recognize that what she was really going in for was just to see where her blood pressure was at. This is the same with my other client that I recently had her baby, a vaginal birth after 3 cesareans, which had been unheard of in this health authority and in this hospital and even in this country. And she went in because she realized that she needed to do a home birth transfer, but she was also doing it in a place where she was very calm. She wasn't anxious about it. She's like, I'm really only doing this to assess where I'm at, and I'd like some additional monitoring because it's been over 24 hours, and like, I really just want to know where I'm at. And she was able to stand her ground and have a VBAC in a hospital that had basically told her when she was still pregnant that if she went into labor, that she was most definitely going to have a uterine rupture and she couldn't have a single contraction. And she did it. She had her VBAC. So as I'm saying, like, this system, when you're the relationship leader, it's powerful. And I lay this out again inside Your Empowered Birth. So just go to the link in my bio, go get that book, or go to my website, empoweringmomsbirth.com/book. Tell other people about this. And yeah, I'm going to give you something else if you message me and reach out to me and say, hey, I got your book, and you show me confirmation. And I'm going to give you something worth about $97 in value that teaches you the exact framework of how to be the relationship leader. And this course is typically $47 on its own. In this package, it's $97 because it also has how to get past your fear. So these 2 courses together, if you get past your fear first, then you can work with how to get your partner on board, which also gives you the skills on how to talk to your care provider and other people in your life. And you can take these skills outside of just birth in context and use them for every aspect of your life. Talking to your boss and getting that promotion, or talking to a client and getting them to sign up with you, talking to your partner and getting them to agree to something that maybe they were a little resistant for. and getting your kids to do what you want them to do. That's the other one. This is the magic of this system. So again, all you have to do is go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/book. Then if you get the book, all you have to do is send me a quick message, show me confirmation, and I will send you that course. Get past your fear in 5 days or less. Get your partner on board with your birth plan, and my little tiny ebook guide, how to hire your care provider, so that you spot those red flags and don't get a toxic OB. All right, so thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get back to the laundry. I've got a mastermind in a few minutes, and then I have to take the kids out to get their hair done. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.